All right, time to get down to the Mr. GLOAT podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get down to business. The information that I should have done before the end of the Usyk and Dubois fight, and other new information. Counterpunch Boxing just released another video about a couple hours ago, reciting Vladimir Klitschko's response to Alexander Usyk, and he stated on Klitschko KO. The final words, stated on a Reddit post or TikTok, but I think it's a tweet, stating, "Champ at Usyk AA, you're a true icon in the boxing ring. This was a masterclass in resilience, highlighting the indomitable spirit of us Ukrainians, who overcome strength through sheer determination and willpower." To be honest, that's actually pretty great to see a two-time unified world champion like Vladimir Klitschko. Even though Vladimir Klitschko overcome a lot of crazy things in his career, because it just goes to show you what these guys are capable of doing. Like, just because you're in your mid-30s doesn't mean that you still have what it takes to do a lot of determination of what you're doing. And keep this in mind, guys, the Klitschko brothers have done a lot of crazy things. Like, Vitaly Klitschko retired his belt for good in December 16, 2013 at the age of 42 years old, 2 months and 26 days, which is like 4 years away from George Foreman, if you count his IBF belt that he stripped in the end of June of 1995, about 2.5 years before he lost against Shannon Briggs, which made him like 48 years old. If you like to count him being 48 years old of holding the title, that's up to you. And Klitschko was 39 years old, 8 months and 3 days when he lost his titles against, you guessed it, Fury. But here's the thing that those guys haven't done, mostly George Foreman, and that is becoming undisputed champion. Now, they've had their own wills, but they haven't given up when they were still champions during their time. They just, as for unified champions, it's a whole different story. But to be honest, the oldest undisputed champion of all boxing is none other than Jersey Joe Walcott. Walcott lost his titles on September the 23rd, 1952 at the age of 38 years old, 7 months and 23 days, when he lost against, you guessed it, Rocky Marciano. And to be honest, it just goes to show you what crazy determination for someone to actually hold their liquor and try to not give up, because he had over like 18 losses in his boxing career when he finally defeated Ezar Charles, and then he lost 2 more times to get 20 losses in his career against Marciano by 13-round knockout and first-round stoppage in 52, and that was the end of his career. But here's the thing. It's interesting because, guys, when trying to type in the information, yes, it was only the NBA and the New York State Athletic Commission, take that for what you will, were the championship belts back in 1952. And it was not until a decade later when the WBC would become a major belt as well in 63. But if you had to add up the days for how long for undisputed champion, technically with Alexander Usyk, like, he's already 38 years old in 6 months. If he can actually hold on to those undisputed titles before getting stripped away from them until September the 10th, 2025, at the age of 38 years old, 7 months and 24 days, he can actually break out that record. Now, the odds of that happening, who knows? Because we don't know how long he's going to hold on to these titles. Because, like, Usyk already held on to undisputed titles for a while, but just not long enough until May the 18th to June the 25th, when he gave the belt to Daniel Dubois, even though Dubois already won his match against Filip Hrgović 24 days ago. So in hindsight, that will be interesting, because at this moment, Usyk already became record here. So technically, if I had to add up those days, the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, June the 1st. Yeah, June the 1st, 2 weeks. 8, 15, 22. That's 5 weeks. So 5 weeks and 35. Add 3 more days for 25. So 30. Yeah, so he only became undisputed champion for 38 days. 38 days is not much. And if you had to count 38 days to July the 19th, yeah, not good enough. 38 days. Let me count on my calendar here from July the 19th. 38 days. Let me see. Like it's like 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 36, 37, 38. Oh, wow. So on August the 26th, which is going to be my birthday, will be the 38th day for Alexander Usyk. So, yeah, so the odds of him getting those belts stripped before the end of August is probably a possibility because we already have 2 organizers of the WBO and IBF. And I'll get to that in a second. But let me just count the rest of the day. 7, 14, August the 9th, 16th, August 23rd, August 30th. So that's 6 weeks. September the 6th will be 7 weeks, 49 days. 7, 8, 9th, Wednesday the 10th. Man, so we have to wait. So we have to wait 53 more days for. So Usyk just has to hold on for the titles for 53 days. But here's the problem. Now, of course, Usyk does have to take a break, which I think is probably for the best for all of us to take breaks. We'll wait for the extension. I hope the WBO or IBF will hold on for his titles a lot sooner than later because I think he should deserve it to hold on to them a little bit more longer just for the heck of it because Joseph Parker doesn't have to wait for long. He just has to take his time. And guys, even if Joseph Parker doesn't fight Usyk, because guys, we already said before, the WBA extension for the WBO title of heavyweight champion already put out their information in February, stated that Usyk only has a 30-day extension to retain off the title to give a fight to Joseph Parker, or else he's going to lose it, because keep this in mind. But guys, here's something interesting. Like I said before, the IBF already gave a 30-day extension for Dubois to defend his IBF against Derek Chisora. So any of those 2 titles that were not in the mandatory right, the odds of Usyk losing both of those titles if he decides to fight someone else are going to be slim, which means Tyson Fury doesn't have what it takes to even fight for an undisputed title. So my point is, what's the point of fighting for a third trilogy if you can't fight undisputed? So I think Tyson Fury is just wasting time here at this moment. And I did hear reports that his father said that maybe he should just stay retired, which is probably for the best. Who knows what's going to happen, because there's more to it than meets the eye, but technically I really don't know what to say about this because it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous to even talk about this right now because it's already July the 22nd right now, and it's only been 3 days since the championship ended. So, but yet again, I would like to see this because even though this is unified champion ring magazine champions of reigns for all world champions at the time. So with Alexander Usyk being the 3rd oldest boxer, he can still surpass Jersey Joe Walcott's record for for the oldest champion at 38 years old and 7 months and 23 days in September. The thing is, he would have to wait another year until September to surpass Vladimir Klitschko's record at 39 years old, 8 months and 3 days. And guys, this just includes the championship reigns with undisputed, lineal, or ring champions. But like I said before, Vladimir Klitschko is a unified champion, so he wasn't an undisputed champion, just unified. But but as a huge unified champion holding on to those titles at 39 years old. Like, don't get me wrong, even George Foreman was a unified champion from WBA and WBC in 1994 when he was like 45 years old, and he vacated out one of the belts before fight. So he was like 46 years old when he had to vacate the belt, and then he took on Axel Schultz, an unknown ranked fighter, and should have lost the fight, but he won, and then he vacated that belt as well in June, and that was it. So I really can't say much about anything else talking about the lines between every of us, because I look back at this and I do find this funny because like, guys, there's still other boxers here. Like, even we have a guy named Oleg Maskev, a Russian fighter that's 39 years old in 6 days when he was WBC champ back in March 8th, 2008. And in all fairness, Usyk just has to wait until he passes the month of January to surpass that record. But he can only be top 5 of the oldest boxers of all time. So at this moment, it's pretty hard to be a champion at that age when you're in your mid-30s. Mid-30s in the heavyweight is not a good sign. But seeing Vladimir Klitschko, and now Alexander Usyk, both Ukrainian boxers, hold their liquor, that's pretty amazing for what you get to see in these boxers that put their bodies on the line, because it's just crazy when you look at it, because I've never seen a lot of crazy stuff in my life, because this is just amazing. And I really mean it, because this was like glorified. Like, it was so amazing. I just felt with all of the with all the people that were here at the time, I had a really good time. I really did. It was fun to watch these people and these amazing fighters put their bodies on the line. But yet again, even though Vladimir Klitschko wasn't an entertaining boxer with all means necessary, doesn't mean that he had a lot of interesting things to talk about. And that brings us to our second topic. And that's the post-fight interview. Because what Alexander Usyk said in post-fight is pretty good. So we go down to ringside interview. The guy says there's so many of them now for Alexander. And he comes out and says, again and again and again, I run out of things to say to you, Alexander. Alexander, I run out of things to say to you, because every single time you put on a performance like that, you always surprise me. 38 isn't old at all, is it? And Alexander Usyk, also Usyk's trainer did tell him to repeat that. Again, he said, 38 isn't old at all, isn't it? And Usyk comes out and says, 38 is a young guy, remember. 38, it's only start. 38 is only the start. So he's telling us that he's only started at 38. Like, this is the beginning, is what he's telling us. This is just the beginning of Usyk's career, of what he's telling us, which is crazy because, like I said before, Vladimir Klitschko, like, he was 37 years old when he took on a 28-year-old Italian boxer, Francisco Pianetta. And this guy, and just like when he was 39 years old, when he took on Brian Jenkins, who was 30 years old, 9 years apart, and Usyk takes on a young fighter, and he just made it look easy. It's crazy. And the announcer says, you made this look a lot easier than you did when you fought Daniel Dubois nearly 2 years ago. How come in rematches you always make it look easier? I don't think we have to answer that. Usyk already knows how easy it is to fight in a rematch. We already know that. And he says, I don't know. I think I want to say thank you, Jesus Christ. I want to say thank you, Virgil Maria. I want to say thank you, my team. And your Wembley. Thank you so much. It's amazing. It's so amazing. It's not the best promo, actually, I would say, but it was fun. It's great to see Usyk being in this situation. Like, he goes to post-fight interviews. He's not much of a straight talker, but he's pretty entertaining for what he is. So the interviewer says, we've spoken so many times before. The first time you beat Tyson Fury, you said you did it for your father. The second time you said you did it for your country, Ukraine. What's the victory for today? And Usyk gives us this. He thinks. He's thinking. He's just thinking. He's just thinking. And he grabs the mic and says, it's for people. It's for all world people. You are a 3-time undisputed champion, the interviewer says. 2-time heavyweight. What more, Alexander, do you want? The challenges are going to keep on coming. What more do you want to do? And at this moment, they hook up the titles around him. He takes the WBC belt off of him right now, so that was pretty quick for it. And goes on from heavyweight, cruiserweight, this or that. And Usyk says nothing. It's he puts his shirt on and said, it's enough. Up next, I don't know. I want to rest. And he's still putting on his shirt, by the way. I'm here. And Derek here. I'm here. I don't know. I want to be in home. That's my family. That's my wife, my children. I want to rest now, but maybe 2-3 months. I want to rest, just rest, just a rest. And of course, the interviewer points out, but the challenges are here. There is a queue, a very big queue. Derek's here on my side. Tyson Fury wants to fight again. Joseph Parker, Agit Caballel, they all want to fight Alexander. Who's next? And of course, Usyk already has his shirt on. And at this moment, I think it's probably for the best to just, at this moment, Usyk didn't have to say any of it, because at this moment, he should just deserve to take a rest, take a break, because at this moment, Usyk just needs some sleep. He just needs some relax, because at this moment, he doesn't need to say anything else. But he does point out and says, maybe it's Tyson Fury. Maybe we have 3 options. Derek Chisora, Anthony Joshua. He scratches his nose and says, maybe Joseph Parker. He never said Agit Caballel, but I'm sure Agit Caballel wasn't happy that he didn't say his name. But at the same time, why would you say Anthony Joshua? Why would you say Anthony Joshua? I don't know why. I'm sure that might have ticked off Agit Caballel a little bit there that he didn't say his name. I don't know why. But then he says, listen, I cannot now, because I want to I want to go back home. I just want to go back home. And then the interview points out, you deserve to go home and rest. Sorry again, what? Usyk says. You deserve to go home and rest. And Usyk just takes the mic and says, thank you so much. Listen, people, thank you so much. I just want to say Ukrainian language. I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of it. Everyone here. He starts talking in the Ukrainian language for one point, but and for everything else, I'm sure he's talking about the power, this or that, and then they get a little bit of the crowded people in the audience. One guy giving a 2 peace sign and saying that thank you so much. Everyone else, the commander, I love you and thanks. That's all Usyk can say at this moment. There's nothing he can say. There's nothing he can say because at this moment, I was like, "Wait, can we just end the interview here?" Because at this moment, Usyk just. I know he just wants to get some sweep. He deserves sweep. But the interview still points out, king for king, pound for pound, undisputed champion. Again, a quick word on your opponent, Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois deserved and tired to be a great today. What words of advice would you give to him for former IBF champion? What advice do you think he should deserve to give him? And they cut to Dubois shaking his head. What was his performance, he said. Daniel Dubois dreams to aim great today. What words of advice do you have for him? And Usyk, well, Usyk just be honest. Like, I'm sorry, it's sport. But people want to take this winner. And of course, the interview just says, don't kick the horses, which is another okay line. I don't know. Don't kick the... I don't know how much that meme is going to get online. I don't think that don't kick the horse is going to be much of a meme. But yeah, he does say, thank you very much, Alexander Usyk, and that's it. Everything else about the Dubois thing, well, I really can't get to that as much. But yeah, I do find that really interesting for Usyk to point out. By the way, guys, there is a couple interesting pieces of information I want to point out here before we end this topic. It said that last punch that Usyk landed to left, bringing Dubois down for the final time, that his mouthpiece came out, which was actually pretty interesting, which I didn't know. There's also another video footage outside of the ring that there's still some people making titles on YouTube called Did Dubois Quit? Guys, here's my problem. If Dubois did not quit, it was over either way. Because there's footage outside behind Dubois' corner team that when the referee counted to 7 or 8, Don Charles grabs a towel and throws it into the ring about a couple seconds before the referee waved it off. So I do find that questionable, but yet again, I really can't say yay. Because at this moment, there's a lot of questioning. At this moment, should Dubois retire at this moment? Dubois fought in 2017, and there's nothing much I can say. Nothing much. And that's all I have to say about this. It is what it is. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Camera turned off. But anyway, guys, with all that being said, time to get down to our final topic. This is Clarissa Shields versus Lonnie Daniels. To understand championship supremacy. For Women's Boxing Undisputed, I will say, though, I am going to save this topic right now because I would talk about this later. But because as I'm recording this, I'm releasing this video as it's because we're about 3 days away from the 25th of July. And there's already a few things talked about, so I will get into information-wise after this is over. But you know what? I'm gonna talk about this right now instead of later. I was gonna talk about the history of all the undisputed championships that have never happened in any of the weight classes, like undisputed championships that are like the light heavyweight. No undisputed light heavyweight champion has existed in women's boxing yet. Neither the super bantamweight, which might. Super flyweight, good luck. The light flyweight, I hope. And then you have the others of undisputed championship belts that have even happened yet. And a lot has even happened in this 4-belt era yet. And I don't think it ever will. Like, guys, the super featherweight barely became undisputed in men's boxing since Todd Morgan became the champion in 1927. And guys like Benny Bass that defeated him years later. Or even when the 2-belt era existed in 63 when Gabriel Eldor won, or Yoshiaka Numada did it in 67. And then that same year, Hiroshi Kobayashi became champion in 67 when he stripped out the titles in 69. And there hasn't been an undisputed champion since. Same thing for featherweight. Like, there's champs there, but the last time someone was champion in that division was in 67 by Vincent Saldivar. And he retired for good, and no undisputed champion since. The super bantamweight, the only person was Naoya Inoue, and he still is to this day. Even the bantamweight division still has some boxers. And of course, since 1973, no one was undisputed since, until, you guessed it, who, almost 50 years later, Inoue did it. The super flyweight doesn't have any, but with Jesse the Bam Rodriguez unifying his title against the African guy that he defeated some days ago. And he's going to have another fight next month, or a few months ago, to unify another title. We might see an undisputed title in the super flyweight next year, depending on who you're asking, because technically it's going to be interesting. Even the flyweight division never had champion since 1968, since Horacio Acavallo was last champion, and he retired for good then. So with the light flyweight and minimum weight still the only two titles that are not undisputed in any class for men's boxing, it is interesting. Like, interesting to say the least. But in all fairness, there's so much to be said here, because I really can't say who has the balls rolling here, because just goes to show you it's pretty tough. But we're going to save that topic for some other time, guys, because I've talked too much about it. Let's talk about Claressa Shields versus Lonnie Daniels and where we're going. So, guys, on the 25th, Chi Connealy is going to fight as of today, as this video is uploaded, and she hasn't fought in a year. I hope she retains her WBA title. The WBO title was vacant in March with Claressa Shields because she was already undisputed in the other division of heavyweight. Lonnie Daniels might lose her belt, or she might keep it, just like Amanda Serrano, still having some of her featherweight belts, even though she lost against Taylor twice. We're also going to have a good amount of works here, because after that fight, we'll come back a year later and just see these girls battling to each other in Detroit. It's going to be interesting. And thing is, guys, Claressa Shields, 16-0, 3 knockouts. Guys, there's going to be another topic I'm going to talk about her and the Layla Ali incident, because Layla Ali and Claressa Shields has to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because and considering this is a lot worse than I just don't know what to say. I just don't like it. But we're going to get to that some other time. for now, guys, let's go to Demetrius Salita Promotions, which will be live at DAZN in the Michigan Unarmed Comeback Commission by Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan on Saturday, July the 26th, another undisputed title fight. So we have interesting matches here, a lot of undefeated fighters in this card taking on nobodies and some taking on somebodies. We do have some interesting heavyweights out here. We have a guy named Price Taylor, an 8-0 fighter that's ranked number 162 in BoxRec in New York, and I wish him best of luck to win this fight against Robert Sims. Robert Sims, in my opinion, is a tough fighter for who he is. He lost against Brandon Moore in November the 4th in 2023 for the NABF Junior Heavyweight title by domination. But he was known for defeating James Mackenzie Morrison, one of the sons of Tommy Morrison's sons, in October of 2022. So I do have a feeling that this is going to be a tough fight. But this guy did lose against guys like Craig Lewis, a guy that he lost in 2016 during his 4th professional fight, and George Arias in 2019, another promising fighter that should have been a promising star, but never did. So Price Taylor has to be careful. Robert Sims is not a knockout person, but he's not really easy to lose fights by knockout. He can go the distance if he wants to, so that might be one tough fight to look at. So I am looking forward to that fight, as long as there's nothing controversial. We still have other fights out here. We have Samantha Warrington taking on a 14-2 fighter named Victoria Petial in a super lightweight fight. And Samantha's ranked number 4 in the rankings right now for super lightweight. We have Caroline Veyri, ranked number 14 at 9 wins and 1 loss against Lucia Baldersa, ranked number 14 in the featherweight, which is kind of weird. Wait, they're both ranked at number 14? Interesting. Featherweight, Lucia, super featherweight. Okay, and this is a featherweight fight. Interesting. This is going to be for the WBC silver featherweight title. Both females. Wish them good luck. Interesting. But, guys, that's not the reason for this show. I think the only entire thing on this show is going to be Claressa Shields and Lonnie Daniels. Now, guys, let's break it down for highlights about Lonnie Daniels and understand what we're getting ourselves into, because there's going to be a lot of moments, I will say, that will make it hard for me to understand how good she is, because Lonnie Daniels isn't much of a hard fighter than I expected, because she's tough, but consider both of these girls are over heavyweight. They don't have a lot of knockouts in their career. She only has 1 knockout in her career with, you guessed it, Shields only has 3 knockouts out of 16 fights. So, yeah. I will say, though, her starting and everything else with the Desley Robinson fight a few years ago, which made her champion and such, or defensive, and how she outboxed her opponent with ease, holding off every single leverage and everything else, and some of her movements and dodges. Every time Desley tries to go for a jab, she ducks and she goes side to side a little bit, and times that there are multiple punches thrown. So she does throw in a lot of interesting things when you go in a ring against someone like that, because it gets pretty tough to see that competition happen, because with all due to respects, it's like watching just this tough woman in competition, because they're that good. Like, Desley Robinson put in a hard show against Lonnie Daniels that it makes you wonder that Lonnie Daniels cannot do that. She has to know what to do at that moment, because she's not a knockout artist. A lot of these females aren't knockout artists, so I do question this to be a really hard fight, because I look at it from a perspective point that Lonnie Daniels has to understand that there's more to this than meets the eye. You have to forgive the understanding of all of her testimonies because ever since her fight against a Nigerian woman last year was probably one of the worst fights I've ever seen of an undefeated woman that was a hype job, and she just got outboxed for an IBF light heavyweight title. And the thing was, the Nigerian woman was attacking her early on, and she was outboxing her, and or so I thought. And Lonnie Daniels was on the defensive side. So I really can't say much about that other than how tough it was for me to watch that, because it just seemed like she was having a hard time entering the ring and trying to get some stuff done, trying to get some action going in. I really couldn't understand what her point was of being in that fight. It just seemed like she was just not in that situation than she should have. It was hard for me to watch because with everything going on, it just seemed like this fight had problems. Like, there was moments where Lonnie Daniels threw in an interesting shot in the 8th round and started throwing barrage of punches at the Nigerian. But everything else just seemed the damage was done. Like, she hurt the woman those final rounds and giving her a hard time at the end. And she was almost trying to go for a knockout. But Lonnie Daniels just never had that power of a knockout ability than you think. So it was really hard to understand what anyone thought that she had what it takes. But guys, Claressa Shields, in my opinion, is more different than meets the eye, because I watched Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields, guys, I will say, though, is different. Now, her last fight, there were times during those 10 rounds with Daniel Perkins was interesting. There are times where Daniel Perkins put out a performance, and there were times that she was actually trying to corner Claressa Shields to the ropes, and Shields was giving her a hard time, not winning any rounds, and she was just outboxing this tall woman, over 6 feet tall, and Shields is a puncher, but the thing was, she's not a knockout puncher, and she gets over her head a lot outside of the ring, taking on male boxers and thinks she's tough, this or that, calls out Jake Paul, and I'm like, Claressa, you don't have to put yourself to that extent. You're tough, but why don't you learn from the mistakes that you were learned from? Because, guys, have people seen the video of Claressa Shields that got knocked out by a guy that only threw 25% of his knockout punch on Claressa? Guys, there's so many females out there that can throw 100% of their combination of a 100% power punch, heavy punch. The thing is, that power punch could be no more than 25% of a regular male boxer's fist coming straight at you. And it brought down Claressa Shields. Now, of course, are women weak? Are women not power punchers? Not really, but when watching some boxing fights of women's boxing and recent and other fights in Madison Square Garden just this month, and other moments of Claressa Shields' boxing career, there's just a lot of barrage of punches and other dangerous. It's just a bunch of barrage of punches and people fighting. It's like watching a cat fight. It's like watching boxing in foxy boxing clubs. Like I think they call it those foxy boxing thing. Go to underground and you're just seeing a bunch of women just swinging wild punches. They're not doing nothing. They're just sloppy and something like that. It's ridiculous. But the point is, when watching that, I will say, though, there's not much to it because it just stinks that we don't have the greatest boxers like Layla Ali anymore, because there is some females out there that will try to do knockouts. And Amanda Serrano, a lot of her knockouts weren't against the greatest professionals, but she has proved herself to bring that to a level. She does. The thing is, I don't think she could take on the greatest boxers as much because she hasn't taken on the best as you think she should. But yet again, I will say, though, there's nothing much to that. Now, Clarissa Shields, in my opinion, does have to take it easy because what I see here, Clarissa Shields has to just ignore it because Clarissa should just take it easy, retain this title, the world undisputed heavyweight title, and if we ever see her and Chi Kaniwi fight, that would be a more interesting fight than this. Then we should. I do believe the Chi Kaniwi fight can be more interesting than this as long as people know who that person is. But all in all, I really can't say for certain who we're looking at because the build-up in this fight is not as entertaining than February the 2nd with her and Daniel Perkins. But I think my final prediction about this, guys, before I end this podcast, because I think it's probably for the best. I don't want to make this a long episode, but I think the last minutes of this, I will say, I do say that Clarissa Shields has this 10 rounds by decision. Both of these girls are not knockout artists. They're not. So I can't say much about that, but I wish I could say more to this than... I wish I could say more about this, but yet again, I think the problem is, guys, what I'm looking at is that, like, guys, ever since Clarissa Shields knows how to throw those punch combinations and other punches. She can still land out good jabs and this, but when you see another woman tries to throw combination punches back and you're going to see a bunch of clinches, there's going to be times where you corner someone to the rope and she's going to try to swing punches and the other person's going to try to clinch her, and there's just going to be a lot of sloppiness. And that happens in female boxing a lot. It's like these girls just can't stop clinching and just start throwing wild punches and almost elbowing each other because it seems like that's the problem. Because women, it's hard to box a great boxer when you're boxing with someone that doesn't have a lot of experience. The thing is, these are two girls that have boxed for a good amount of time in their career. And Clarissa Shields has only boxed for 9 years right now, and she's done a good job. While Lonnie Daniels, on the other hand, similar. She only boxed since 2017, and it's now been 8 years. But guys, here's the thing. The thing about anyone else here, I think my final thing is, it's going to be tough because Lonnie Daniels, orthodox, just like Shields, she's 37 years old. Shields is 30 years old. They're both number one in their own pound-for-pound rankings for heavyweight and light heavyweight. But Lonnie Daniels is 5'6.5", 67 reach advantage, while Clarissa is a 68, and she's 5'8". So I will say, I do believe that Shields does have this in the bag. This will be an interesting 10-round decision. But I don't think I'm going to find this fight interesting than what it is, but I will stay tuned to watch it. I think the only fight I'm just going to review will be this fight. Because, guys, 5.5 months ago, I was only going to review the Daniel Perkins and Clarissa Shields fight, but after seeing the Skylar Lacey and Brandon Moore fight, man, that's going to generate a lot of buzz of talking in the future. So I really had to talk about that a lot before getting to this. So I hope we don't get more controversy about any other boxing fights in Little Caesars Arena tomorrow, because I am more interested in reviewing this fight. I don't think it's going to be entertaining, but if Clarissa Shields does win, what is she going to do? Don't ask for it. Guys, even if Layla Ali did ask for $15 million, just screw it, okay? Why do you want to fight a woman that's in her mid-40s already? And why would Layla Ali ever agree to any of this? Just goes to show you that she has her father's blood. You just can't stop boxing. The thing was, guys, here's the thing. Like, I'm sure a lot of people know about this, but Muhammad Ali, like, here's the problem with Muhammad Ali. Like, Muhammad Ali was 38 years old when he fought against Holmes. And when he took on Trevor Berbick a year later, he was only 1 month away from almost being 40 years old. He was only 39 years old. It's ridiculous. I just don't know what to say about that. I just don't know what to say about that, actually, because it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, I don't even know what to say about this. Because I just find this so... It's just funny. At 40, almost at 40 years old, when he retired boxing, and he was not in the best situation, with all due to respects. His daughter started boxing for a good amount of time in her career. Did. But the thing was, guys, it is hard for me to... I just don't know what to say, actually. I just don't know what to say about this because it's just... I just find this really, really tough. I don't know what to say about this. I just don't know what to say about this because I just find it different. Because here, so Muhammad Ali was 39 years old when he lost against Trevor Berbick, almost 40 years old. Layla Ali is 47 years old and she's in perfect health. She's okay. She retired from boxing when she was 29 years old. So why would you want to fight against someone that's in their prime right now? You ask for $15 million and they give it to you. Like, I hope Layla Ali doesn't take it because at this moment, it's ridiculous. And Clarissa Shields shouldn't fight no one that's over 2 decades in their prime like that. It's ridiculous. Like, Mario Barrios was so respectful to not hurt Manny Pacquiao in any other way that they ended the fight in a draw. This fight is just... I don't know why we have to ask boxers that are past their prime to continue boxing. Oliver McCall, like, he's 60 years old, and as of the month of July, we pass August, September, October, November. We're 4 months away from him from almost having his 40th anniversary when he's boxing. And he might box one more fight in 4 months. And I hope he gets out safely without getting hurt. This is not what I want to see. I don't know what we're going to see into this, but I just hope everyone will escape this arena clean and nothing bad will go on. And because at this moment, if Clarissa Shields does defeat Lonnie Daniels, what's she going to do next? Well, guys, she can actually go down to the light heavyweight division and probably she can actually probably fight Chi Connealy. Better yet, she can actually bring in the WBC light heavyweight belt that is not active. It's still inactive in the women's boxing division. That's the only belt that's not active yet. So maybe you can bring in the WBC belt for light heavyweight for the heck of it, because the WBO, IBF, and WBA are the only 2 belts that are active in the light heavyweight for women's boxing. So bring in the WBC belt. Like, Clarissa Shields already brung in the WBA and WBO belt last February, and they're active. So why don't you do that to the light heavyweight? She can try to fight big and probably fight for something there. Probably find some interesting competition there. Better yet, who knows? At this moment, Clarissa Shields does have 16 wins in her career, and she might have probably 4 more fights left in her, considering she is an undefeated foe. But yet again, there's not a lot of competition in the division. So I understand why she's calling out Layla Ali, a woman that's not actually in a tall height. She's 5'9.5" tall. Yes, she's over a 70 reach advantage, but all in all, I really can't say much about this other than whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen, and that's all I'm going to say about this. That's all I'm going to say about this podcast, guys, because at the end of the day, I don't know what I'm going to expect on the 26th, because at this moment, I'm just not in the mood to talk about this. Like, good luck, Clarissa Shields and Lonnie Daniels, for winning this fight. Whoever wins it is undisputed. Congratulations. Man, this is going to be tough. But anyway, guys, whoever wins tomorrow, wish you best of luck, because guys, I just to let you guys know, I'm not in the mood to review any of this right now. But because we're almost in the end of July, because, hey, we after this on the 26th, we only have 5 more days until July's over. And I also have Yumat Kamkiran. He's still boxing in the heavyweight, and I'm still wishing him good luck. He's going to fight in a few days as well, or today, as recent, before this fight. So we'll see what happens. But with that being said, thank you for watching. With that being said, Foxwolf is out.